Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for another fantastic Urban Wine Club and Greek Wine Club webinar. We have one of our favorite guests in the whole world, Johnny Livanos, with us, and another guest co-host who we don't like as much, but let me introduce him anyway, because I know some of you people out there do like him. Foti Stamos. Hello, Foti.
That's Ari. Let me make a correction. I think Johnny is no longer a guest. He's an actual co-host. He's one of our residents here.
Can we just make it
official? Like,
I got like a badge or something, maybe like a gold medal.
Baptizing post?
Yeah, we need to do something, because I don't want to introduce you as a guest, and I keep forgetting, and I do it, and I apologize. But our official host of these fantastic
Let's just
clips.
put it this way. If I was at your house, I could just go into the fridge. I wouldn't have to ask, right? You know, it's that's the level I'm at now.
You absolutely. Foti said you could stay with him as long as you like when you're in town.
And feel free to do dishes.
But let's have Foti give us a little introduction on what we're going to talk about today.
So again, what's great about what we're doing is that things are becoming more and more interesting. The Greek wine industry and culture is constantly evolving. Even though it's been evolving, but it seems that the progression is going faster and faster, at least in my opinion. And tonight's topic is very intriguing to me, because, you know, we talk about great wines from the iconic parts of Greece, Nausa, Nemea, parts of Crete, Santorini, right? But now we're starting to see these explorations and all these well, whether you call them experiments and so forth, but we've always been big fans of Assyrtiko from Santorini. You know, that's been pretty much the focal point for a long time. We've done plenty of webinars on Santorini. We've done plenty of webinars on different producers from Santorini, because we love Assyrtiko. And Johnny's here tonight with us, so we can actually discuss Assyrtikos beyond Santorini. And what does that mean? Basically, they're growing Assyrtiko all over Greece now, or they have been, but it's really now coming to fruition.
Yeah.
And now that we have the opportunity with Johnny, we'd love to actually break it down. And Johnny, let us know, like, what's going on now with Assyrtiko.
Yeah, so, you know, Assyrtiko, by far, you're right, it's one of the most popular white varieties from Greece. Produces very crisp, dry, bright white wines, and that's what we love about it. It's a perfect accompaniment to food, to drinking on its own. But when you think of Greek white wines, Assyrtiko is always one of the top wines that comes to mind. And Santorini put it on the map. But like Foti was saying, you know, it's fun to see how winemakers are starting to experiment and put these things from different parts of the country. And a great example is, you think of Chardonnay, right? Like Chardonnay, you know, you see it. Its main home is Bordeaux, Burgundy in France, right? You see it in Chablis, in white Burgundy, but you grow it all over the world, and it takes on different qualities as it's grown in different areas, right? So different regions have different weather, they have different terroir, different soil content. Winemakers from different regions have different styles. So when you grow Assyrtiko in different parts of Greece, it's going to take on a lot of different qualities. And just to review, I'm going to share my screen. I want to review a little bit what makes Santorini special. And then we're going to talk about why it's similar, why Assyrtiko from other parts of Greece are unique in their own way. So Santorini, again, is right in here in the South Aegean Sea, you know, beautiful volcanic island. Using volcanic soil. All the wines are grown on black lava rock and these traditional, very low to the ground vines. So vines unlike really anything else. They grow them in these baskets to protect the grapes from the wind, from the elements. And they have really old vines growing on these mineral volcanic soils. So again, what are you gonna get here is classic Santorini Assyrtiko with bright acidity, pronounced minerality, and just really like mouth-watering mouthfeel. That's Santorini. So, but when you go to other parts of Greece, what's going to be similar? What's going to be different? What are the different qualities that you're going to find? Hold on 1 second. The phone's ringing. Let me just mute this thing. So I'm here.
Oh, he's back.
I'll have a sip.
So the first wines I wanted to talk about were from Crete. So Crete is a fun region, another island in the southern part of Greece. What's fun about Crete is that it's different. It's similar to Santorini in the fact that it's an island. You have a lot of these minerality as well. And it's a beautiful place. Great culture, awesome people. Here, the vineyards are planted much more traditionally. So traditional vineyards. You don't have them grown in that similar basket method on Santorini. But you're going to still get a very bright Assyrtiko. Acidity is always the most one of the most important components of the wine. This is an example from Alexakis, one of the producers I work with from Daphnios region in Crete. They leave the wine on the lees for several months, gives it some richness. You're not going to have that same intense minerality, but you still have the great acidity and freshness that's common in an Assyrtiko. So this is a fun wine. I do love Assyrtiko from Crete because you're getting that Aegean island climate that you see in Santorini, but a different kind of ecosystem. Here you have sandy soils. The winters are a little bit colder. Summers are hot. You're up in the mountains, so at higher elevation, they typically get a little bit more aromatic. But those are some of the main differences between Crete and Santorini.
But definitely, to your point, that the structure and that backbone of Assyrtiko really drives that balance in this white wine. For sure. The textures, that crisp cleanness. I gotta say that I think Assyrtiko can give Sauvignon Blanc a run for its money.
For sure, and especially depending on where you grow it from. Some people compare Assyrtiko to Sauvignon Blanc, like Sancerre. Other people compare it to Chablis. But basically, the bright, fresh, acidic, full flavored whites is where you're going to kind of make the nice comparison to.
Yeah. In your map, real quickly, Johnny, can you go back to the map of Greece real quickly? If you point out, look, I just want to point something out. Look at the size of Santorini, right?
It's tiny.
Look at the size of Crete.
It's not even, you can't even compare it. Santorini is a tiny, tiny island.
It's amazing what has been coming out of that tiny little spot.
It's if you've ever been to Santorini, it's pretty remarkable that they could really grow what they're producing there.
Do we even have an idea? Do we know what is the total production coming out of the island collectively from everybody?
I don't have the exact number. In terms of number of cases of wine a year,
could it be over 100,000?
Let's get our fact checker in here to look it up.
It's just lately we've been doing a lot of webinars, and we've been exposed to all these numbers of production in the millions of cases, right?
Oh, it's definitely not even close to the million.
And I just want to put things into perspective of how special the wines are that come from Greece, because of unfortunately yields are very low, but on the fortunate side is they're making such good wine.
So one thing I found, they're only producing about 2,500 tons of grapes per year. What that translates to in terms of
wine,
I need to do my conversions, but
well, let's just say it's not that much.
Yeah, no, it's definitely not that much, because it's such few land and such a small amount of land, old vines as well, so low yields. But because of that, you're getting a more concentrated flavor. Right. When you go to Crete, for example, there's a lot more, usable vineyard space. The climate there is very suitable for growing. So, you're having much higher yields. But what that results in is going to be a much better price point too. And that's what we love about Assyrtiko grown from other parts of Greece is, you're not going to get that same, that price point. Santorini could be a little expensive now. It's very, because of the low yields, the difficult production, everything's hand harvested, everything is, it's done so meticulously, all that stuff adds up. So Santorini is you're starting to see them, get a little more expensive. It's pretty common to find them for $40 a bottle from Santorini. Then you go to Crete or other parts of Greece, you could get some really good deals, really good value. And if you're someone who's looking to explore Assyrtiko, and maybe try to find a more everyday wine, where Santorini might be your more specialty wine for a special occasion, or that's where I think the Assyrtikos from other parts of Greece come in handy.
Yes.
The next region I wanted to take you to is going to be the Peloponnesos. Yeah. Do you guys have something you want to say?
I was just going to mention real quickly. Do we know, Johnny, if the Assyrtiko vines that are being planted throughout Greece, are any of them coming from Santorini? These clippings?
They must be clones from Santorini for sure. Okay. I mean, when you're making plants, like they'll propagate them. They'll take a clipping until it grows some roots, and then they'll transport them to other vineyards in other parts of the country. Awesome. But most of them have to be coming from Santorini, at least the original plant, right. And then they probably from there, they have greenhouses and things where they could propagate them, and they grow these little baby vines and they plant them in the vineyards. It's a pretty arduous process. You're not starting from like a little seed. Right. You're starting with a little plant that's been grown, and they took it from there. That's
fascinating.
Yeah. So I wanted to move on to the Peloponnesos here. This is a really great area for making Assyrtiko. They have, this is in the southern part of Greece, right, in the peninsula of the Peloponnese. So from the south of Athens, near Nemea, Mantinea, great winemaking regions for producing beautiful wines like Assyrtiko, Moscofilero. Those are the main wines you find there. But Assyrtiko does really well in this part of the country. You can see from these pictures, high elevation, really mountainous part of the country. Beautiful vineyards here. So again, more traditional vineyards. Only on Santorini are you seeing the basket method, but in other parts of Greece, you're seeing these more traditional trellising systems, get a lot of great sun exposure. But what we love about this part of Greece, again, is the high elevation, that high altitude. You're getting these beautiful vineyards up in the mountains. And this is from Domaine Skouras, these pictures specifically. But I want to bring attention to this particular wine, which is one that I love, is these Domaine Skouras wild ferment Assyrtiko. So this comes from the Peloponnesos, grown up in the mountains. So I think it's about 1,500 feet of elevation. What's cool about this wine is that it is grown on dark clay soils, but fermented with wild yeasts. So, when you're fermenting wine has, the grapes have yeasts on the skins, no matter what. Like people always say wine wasn't invented, it was discovered, because wine happens naturally. Anyone could just pick some grapes, crush them, you're going to have wine eventually. It might not be good, but you'll make wine. So with this particular wine, instead of using the yeasts that are laboratory produced, most yeast you commercially use in wineries, they are genetically designed to produce a particular flavor or to go with a certain grape. Yeast gives off esters and flavorful qualities that you want to control. So most winemakers use inoculated yeast from either their laboratory, or they maybe have a house proprietary yeast that they use. But here they're using wild yeast. So literally the yeasts that are naturally occurring in this part of the country. So
basically, Johnny, for those that are listening, and for Ari, wild yeast is basically what you just mentioned. It's using its own yeast or yeast that are from other, you said locally sourced.
Well, no, this is wild yeast. So we're not even using yeasts from local sources. This is just like yeasts that are naturally in this vineyard, like on these grapes. Yeah. So the wild yeast, it's wildly fermenting from yeasts that are naturally in that ecosystem, in the air. Like it's from right there.
That's wild.
So it's not, they're not sourcing it. They're not going and buying the yeast like you would for most wine. It's right there. It's natural. So it's fun. When you do that, it's a crazy experience, because you're getting the pure flavors and the expression of that terroir. That's what I love about that. The winemaker is doing something more natural. Is doing something more in tune with nature, right? This is how it naturally would occur, and the winemaker really has to focus on using like the temperature to make sure it doesn't get out of control and to control the flavors. But to me, this is such a beautiful expression. It's younger vines compared to Assyrtiko from Santorini. So I think the vineyard is about 14, 15 years old. No malolactic fermentation. It's on the lees for about 4 months. You have this beautiful richness. I think you get a great aroma from this wine.
Okay.
High elevation vineyards are always going to be a little more aromatic. So that's one thing I love about this one. Even if, compared to wine from Santorini, like while they're very complex and flavorful, on the nose, the aromas aren't very like perfumey or fragrant. Here, I feel like you almost get some similarities to the other grapes in that area, where you have this beautiful aroma. There is some notes of some floral notes, some elements of tropical fruit here. But it's such a fun, easy drinking classic Assyrtiko while being from the mainland. That's what I love about this wine. It's both classic yet unique in a lot of ways, and it takes on that high elevation characteristics of Nemea, of southern Greece.
It's been one of our go-tos this summer for sure.
Yeah. Screw cap, easy drinking, and also it's the winery is always trying to be as inclusive as they can be. This is one of the first wine labels to have Braille on the label in Greece.
Oh,
so, yeah, on the side of the label.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
So cool.
Yeah.
And also, what's cool on the label is they're telling you about the altitude, the longitude, the amount of rainfall, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, what does it say for rainfall in there?
Rainfall, it says that it's 490 mm's.
Milliliters.
MMTTG. Not sure what.
Low rainfall again. Greece, it's dry in Greece, so when it's low rainfall, the grape's going to be more concentrated, more flavor. And that's something similar to Santorini. So that's a kind of a similarity you might have. Santorini.
I enjoy both these translations, and then
I put them on the spot there.
My translations.
You guys have the Milonas Assyrtiko too, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely. So another one of our favorites.
Yeah. So this comes from Milonas Winery. They're so cool. They're not Tiki. So they're right here, right next to Athens. It's one of the wine regions closest to Athens.
Yes.
He's been making wine for 3 generations. And here, look at these vines. Look at these vineyards. Like here, it's so similar to Santorini. Low to the ground. They're not growing them in baskets, but you have this. It's more of a limestone soil, but still very rocky, high mineral content.
Johnny, you just mentioned that it's similar to Santorini, and I had a question from before, and I figure now that you just mentioned it, let me just randomly ask you: do you know? Does anybody else in the world do what Santorini does with those little basket vines?
No, not that I'm aware of.
Yeah, me neither. I don't think I've ever seen it, and I was so curious. So Santorini could be, as far as we know, like a completely unique wine growing area, which is
for sure. No, it's totally a unique wine growing area. There's even besides the basket method, just the ecosystem, the environment, there's nowhere else in the world that grows like that. But for sure, I mean, that the basket method is very special to Santorini. It's the Greek engineering, Greek ingenuity.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah, but here's some pictures of the Milonas vineyards. And this was a fun wine. It was called a happy accident. They, this was he accidentally got delivered these vines.
The coincidence is that Fati's parents called Fati that same thing. Sorry, go ahead.
So this was a wine that he wasn't planning on making a Certigo, but he got a delivery of Assyrtiko grapes. He experimented with it, and they were delicious. So he ended up deciding to dedicate a whole vineyard to it. So he planted some vines to Assyrtiko. It grows pretty well in this part of Greece. The proximity to the ocean, Attica is right there, right in the water, very dry, but that high mineral content from like the limestone soil makes this a very fun Assyrtiko. One of my favorites, honestly. And this is a very low production wine. We only bring in less than 500 cases a year. So this is a rare item. And for being such a low production wine, the fact that they offer it at such a great price point makes it such a killer steal. So a great way to get your hands on some high value Assyrtiko from a unique part of the country, from a unique part of Greece, but with a lot of those similar characteristics. You have A little more fruit notes, a little more lively, some floral elements, but then also some herbaceousness too. So for me, very fun Assyrtiko for sure. Lastly, I wanted to move to northern Greece. So back up in the north, the coolest part of Greece in terms of climate, colder, high elevation, beautiful vineyards here, nice, beautiful slopes. And we have one fantastic Assyrtiko, I'd say probably the most prestigious or premium Assyrtiko outside of Santorini in our portfolio is from Alpha Estate. They make this beautiful Assyrtiko, very cold climate up there. Not very, very cold. It's still warmer in the summer, but cold in the winter for sure. More continental climate compared to the Mediterranean.
That's snow that we see in the background there?
Yeah, it's snow-capped mountains. They ski those mountains too.
Amazing.
It's a picture of one of their vineyards. In the winter, you get a few inches of snow for sure. So reminder, we talked about this, but when you have cooler climate, those aromatics are more pronounced, kind of preserves a lot of the freshness of the wines. And this is the ecosystem Assyrtiko. Aged on the lees for 8 months, comes in a beautiful Bordeaux style bottle, one single vineyard, skin contact for 6 hours. You're getting this really amazing Assyrtiko, also fermented with indigenous yeasts from the area. To me, this is just one of the most precise, beautiful expressions of this wine outside of Santorini. I mean, the packaging's great. The wine is so well done. This is the kind of wine you want to actually age for a few years. It gets better as it ages. While it's young, it's fresh and bright, but as it ages, it gets these really delicious, kind of like Chablis sort of qualities. And, Angelo's here, he studied in France to make wine, so he kind of applies a lot of that French style to the wine here. But the main differences here, I think, from Santorini is you're getting that little more aromatics, but you're getting a lot of similar quality in terms of the richness, the brightness, that minerality, as well as the acidity.
And this is also a very highly allocated, low production wine, correct?
Yes. We only bring in maybe 100 packs of this wine per year, not much at all. And I think on Urban Wine Club, Greek Wine Club, are one of the few places you could buy this online. So definitely a place to check it out because, it's rare, it's limited. And again, only a few places are selling this, especially online, delivered to your door. So definitely worth getting your hands on when you can get it.
Absolutely.
And I think you have the 2018 or 19 vintage. So
I want to say we have the 2019, but I want for those that are listening, we don't have much left. So if you see this, get it while you can until the next vintage comes.
It's definitely a get it while you can kind of wine. Like when we bring it in, we get like 20 cases for the whole country.
Yeah.
And you might see these in a few Greek restaurants here and there, but again, very limited. So it's definitely fun to get your hands on it. They're going to be a little higher price point, like just kind of in line with the Santorini.
But I got to say, Johnny,
a completely different terroir. It's beautiful.
Even though it's a higher price point, you can match this up against any high level French white Burgundy, and it's right there in line with quality
100%.
And fulfillment as far as the pleasures of what the wine has to offer.
Yeah, I think that's what this wine is great for someone who likes Burgundy and wants to kind of break away out of their comfort zone, but sticking to a similar flavor profile. That's where this wine comes in handy. And honestly, a lot of the wines from Alpha Estate, even their Pinot Noir, they have the ecosystem. That's great for the Burgundy drinkers too, for the red Burgundy drinkers.
Awesome.
So that's my little Assyrtiko tour from outside of Santorini. And again, keep an eye out for these because they're growing, they're getting better and better. And the reason why they're getting better is because these were vineyards planted outside of Santorini maybe only 15 years ago. They're still young. So as they mature, they develop, they get more characteristics. The vines just get developed and the wines get better. So it's fun to see this growth and this transformation. Santorini will always have a special place and be the birthplace of this wine. But it's worth knowing that, wines from Greece are worth exploring no matter which part it comes from. So yeah. Right.
And one point I'd like to make for our audience and for those that are watching this segment is that the way I look at it now, as Assyrtiko for Santorini becomes, highly allocated, low production, and now we're getting an abundance of Assyrtiko from the mainland, maybe we can take this approach. We'll drink mainland Assyrtikos during the week, and we'll drink Santorini Assyrtikos on the weekends.
Yes, that makes sense for sure.
Excellent. John, this was great. I love the way you broke it down. I hope Ari now realizes that you can drink good Assyrtiko in the mainland.
I realized that, like, I had no idea how small batch and rare that these wines are. And I think that it's incredible. And seriously, if you can find these wines, you know, on our platform, at a restaurant, wherever, definitely give it a try if you have that opportunity, because like Johnny and Foti explained, there's not that much of it coming in, and they are worth like every sip and every penny that you pay for it.
Well, you're getting more wine for the price, right? Like, you know, Foti was comparing that to a Chablis. You know, for that a white Burgundy, you're going to pay 30-40% more for the same quality of wine, right? A lot of wines, you're paying for the label, you're paying for the prestige of the region, and nothing wrong with white Burgundy. Don't get me wrong. I love white Burgundy. It's one of my favorite wines out there. But it's pretty awesome to see what they can do in Greece,
right,
at a lower price point, and that's what makes me excited. It makes me proud, and it makes it fun to showcase these wines because you're getting tremendous value.
Yeah, Johnny, if I can make this point, so the development of the prestigeness of white Burgundy happened over hundreds of years.
Hundreds, yeah. Not just like 200, like 500, 600 years.
The level of the progression of the quality of whites from Santorini and now from other parts of Greece happened in the last 25, 30 years.
Right. And while they've been making wine there for forever, the wines haven't really left the island or haven't left Greece up until, you know, the 80s and 90s, really, early 2000s. That's when it all got started.
And another cool thing I'd like to point out to all of us is that you mentioned earlier, like, for example, Chardonnay Sauvignon Blanc is being grown all over the world with different expressions. Assyrtiko only, some of my knowledge, just grows in Greece with some exceptions that are being experimental, right? So there's another uniqueness that it only grows in Greece for the most part.
And it grows better in Greece than anywhere else. I mean, they could plant it anywhere, but I doubt it would be as good as.
There's been some experiments in Australia, and I think some like projects in California, but experiments, but nothing like it. So yes,
not a successful experiment, I don't think.
So yeah, we have so many reasons why these wines are special. But yes, awesome. This is great, Johnny. As always, we love your inclusion and how you break it down, and your input. Always
my pleasure.
And to our listening audience, as Johnny has mentioned, we went through the Skouras Assyrtiko, Alexakis Assyrtiko, and the Alpha State Eco, which are all available on Greek Wine Club, and also let's mention Greekazon as well, that they're all available at the moment. With the Alpha State Assyrtiko, as we mentioned before, there is low inventory of it, so we just want to make sure that if you are interested, get it while you can.
It's absolutely important to know, because, you know, when people have a lot of access to things, it's like, oh, you know, maybe we'll try it. These are hard to come by. There's not a lot of it. So if you have any interest, and you should, because they are amazing wines, jump on it, try it, whether it's through our platform or wherever, try them. They are amazing wines. Johnny, always a pleasure. You're awesome. You know your stuff. We thank you for bringing that knowledge to us and our audience. Foti, you're okay. I'm not going to complain too much. And we want to thank everybody out there for watching and listening. Johnny, thanks again for being with us.
My pleasure.
And we'll see you guys next time. I don't know exactly what we have in the works, but we have a few things in the works. Yeah, so just stay tuned, and we will notify everyone. And we'll see you then. Thank you, Johnny. Thank you, Foti. We'll see you guys all next time.
All right. Take care.
Cheers.
Hey, gentlemen.
Yamas.
Yamas.